haven't been to Deer Hammer, but I may have to stop in on my way home. And then those that, bonfires up in Eagle. And then I noticed on your page you have some guys in your backyard, like the Ska group and all of that. So there's a lot of folks that are, and Thirsty Monk. Oh my God, look at that. Sorry, I should have read this beforehand. I do apologize on that one. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So we've been harping on Colorado breweries, but New York's got some good stuff too. Kris, are you a beer guy yourself, or where do you fall?
Yeah, I have to confess to you all that I was a beer guy until I was diagnosed with a gluten allergy 5 years ago. And I would say
that's fair.
One of the things that I miss the most is being able to enjoy a nice, refreshing beer. So it's been a number of years since I've been able to enjoy a nice beer, but it is pretty incredible. It's incredible to see the craft brewery industry across the whole country. I just think it's, we're very fortunate at working at the James Beard Foundation that, I spend a lot of time traveling around the country when we're not in a pandemic for various events and programs. And it's just really incredible to me to see the craft beer movement, whether you drop down in Chicago or in Colorado, or as you said, up in Portland, it's thriving. And I think it's just such an exciting part of the food and beverage landscape in the United States. So I miss it. I have to say, I miss it. I miss baked goods, and I miss beer.
So that was I was going to be like, bread. That would have been my number one.
I miss those for you, Kris.
Do you drink spirits, Kris with a K, or wine, or any other beverages?
All the rest, yes.
Love it.
He feels the buzz somewhere in the line. I'm glad
you have so many options. I think that's a pretty cool thing in 2021.
No, it really, really is. I'm glad I wasn't, diagnosed with this 20 years ago. A very different time to be diagnosed with a gluten allergy in this country. So, but hearing you guys talk about all of these beers, I'm just kind of salivating. Like, wish that I could crack one open myself right now.
Well, I mean, I won't shame anyone. We have a pretty strong cider game in this in Colorado as well. We've had the folks from Haken Cider out in Aurora, Colorado. They've done some award-winning stuff. So if you can ever find their stuff on the shelf and you're looking for something that has a similar, it's just a seamless Colorado plug. Don't sweat it too much. You mentioned that your work, Kris with a K, has taken you all over the country, and I imagine, Emily, with what you do, you kind of get to pin your word across the country. Researching and development, whatever you want to expense it as. I want to know, what's y'all's favorite cities to visit for not only food, but also cocktails, beverage, going out scene? What's been one of the best cities y'all been able to party in or visit because of the job y'all have? That was a random.
I love San Diego. I used to feel it was my second home. We work with Carl Strauss Brewing Company, who's in the book. And I just, speaking of the beach and the refresh and just craving refreshing crisp beer, give me a Follow the Sun Pilsner from Carl Strauss on the beach any day. I love San Diego. I'll throw that one out there.
Kris with a K.
That's a good one. Yeah, San Diego is solid. I'm going to say, I mean, there's so many because this country's vast and there's so much great food and beverage, but Raleigh, North Carolina, the kind of Raleigh-Durham triangle, lots of delicious food happening there. I've just really, and I've spent a fair amount of time there on behalf of the foundation. Ashley Christensen is there, Judy Kumar is there, just really Andrew Rusing, like incredible restaurants and just a really cool food and beverage culture. And I'm partial to Los Angeles at this point in my life. I find the food in LA. I know it's really boring, but I find the food in LA to be really exciting and delicious and vinegary and charred. And I don't know, I really have a great time when I'm eating in LA.
So you kind of tipped your hand there when you said vinegary for the LA food. It already answered my next question was, did you like the Carolina style barbecue? But it seems that may have a slight bias with how you said Raleigh and then the vinegar love for LA. Is there a bias there?
No, I'm probably going to probably going to draw a line in the sand here, but being from Kansas, I'm going to go firm on the Kansas City barbecue. And I'm going to stick with Casey.
So maybe not go back to North Carolina anytime soon.
I love North Carolina food otherwise.
Okay, well, Duke or North Carolina basketball. Drawing lines in the sand.
Yeah, I got to go KU.
Oh yeah,
went to KU.
Rock Chalk Jayhawks.
He's not going down there anytime soon, Kris. With the C, great call. I completely forgot about that hometown bias.
I'm never going to be able to go back to the Triangle.
Kris, really? Have you ever been to? Is it Cat's Cradle in North Carolina? Is that what it's called?
The Catbird Seat? Is that what you're thinking of? Catbird Seat, the restaurant?
Maybe. I thought there was some restaurant around like Raleigh or something that
swing and a miss.
A guy had like a farm, but he also had like punk shows. There's kind of like a concert venue there. I may be misspeaking.
Oh, no. You may not be, but I'm not familiar with it.
Well, shit. All right.
Well, it's okay, Kris.
That was a dud.
That's what happens when we go.
I'm not going to be able to go back to Raleigh anyway, so.
No, yeah.
If it makes you feel better, we don't have a strong contingency in North Carolina. We kind of, our ebbs and numbers the flows of numbers kind of go with the legal cannabis scene. So we're seeing a large spike in the Northeast over the last 18 months. But for the most part, we're Western based. So at Colorado, Oregon, shout out to Emily's gaining a lot of followers. You're not doing yourself any favors, Kris. But we'll get back on topic. That's my apologies. I always railroad conversations. All right.
That was fun.
Was it? Well, you mentioned the calendar. This is just an idea. Y'all can take it. It's kind of $1 million idea from my brain. If y'all ever wanted to do like a collab of best cities to pair with foods and booze, maybe y'all could do a little team trip and write like kind of like the passport books you see in cities, have them for different communities. They could download for $5, dollar donations, whatever, for distilleries and breweries and restaurants. Just floating that idea, guys. Y'all can have it.
Fun.
I love that idea.
We'll give you credit in the book.
Yeah, this came from the stoned mind of Kip and Kris with a C.
That sounds great. We'll put it in there. I think there's it's so funny that Kris with a K said Raleigh Durham. I have friends and family there, and I just love hanging out and eating and drinking in those cities. And I think part of the reason why is because of their closeness to nearby farms. And I think that proximity just brings such culture and depth to various cities' food scenes. And I'm discovering that living in the Southwest too, in a whole different way. I'll add, like, honestly, anywhere in New Mexico to my favorite places. But there's one town called Corrales, and it's just this beautiful farm town that's outside of Albuquerque. And man, do they produce some great food and beer there. So if there's a farm nearby, I tend to want to eat and drink there.
And, it seems that the farm to table and the more, knowing what's on your plate, where it came from, has become a little bit more of a trend. And so, it's those situations where if you had a little bit more insight or, those things, then more to the merrier. I think you could draw more attention to all of the farms, but also the restaurants in those communities as well. So I dig it.
And the passport program really encourages folks to try all of these different places and experience what it's like to be there overall versus, just one or a couple.
Yeah, I like it. And maybe the passport program's not yet. I'm just floating it. I'll let y'all think about that. But that does bring me to, I guess we'll call this segue number 3. But, we've talked about how to kind of make the community, bring more attention to everything from the farmers and the agriculture using, the spoken word and the written word. And now we're using this campaign to kind of talk about bringing a little bit more diversity to the community as well. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about the broader program, Kris with a K, of the Open for Good campaign. If you wouldn't mind elaborating a little bit more about how we're being more inclusive, not only and I guess local communities, but also on a national scale, how we can kind of where this money is going. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Let's get into the weeds a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just for a little bit of context. The Beard Foundation has been around for more than 30 years, and we have a number of different programs and initiatives, some of which we're best known for, like the James Beard Awards or the Beard House in New York, but a whole growing suite of programs that we've really been running the last 10 years that we call our impact programs, which have really been focused on helping the industry to become more sustainable and more inclusive. And so we've been doing a lot of that work, really focused on environmental sustainability, specifically around sustainable seafood and helping both consumers and the industry to reduce food waste, and a little bit on land-based proteins. And then through a suite of programs called our Women's Leadership Programs, which have really been focused on gender equity. And when the pandemic hit last March, the foundation, we quickly made the decision that we needed to turn all of our resource, our whole team, all of our focus towards supporting the independent food and beverage industry to survive the crisis. And so it was a bit of a redirect, or I would say, maybe I should say it was a focusing for us of all of our team and our staff and our resources on that as a common goal for the organization. And so there were a number of things that we launched in March of last year, in March and April, a number of industry resources. Actually, during that time, we were doing a free webinar every single day for the industry on a different topic to try to help folks navigate the crisis, whether that was, how to understand how to apply for PPP funding, or how to navigate your insurance agreement at your restaurant or your bar, all kinds of very technical things that I think the industry as a whole was trying to figure out as the pandemic kind of just, pulled the bottom out under everybody. And so we did that work through April and March, and March and April, and much of that work has continued. We really realized by the end of kind of April and early May that, I think many of us hoped that the pandemic was going to be short-lived, and that we would be, past it pretty quickly. And I think as it became clear that that wasn't going to be the case, we looked at all of our programs and decided that we needed to launch a comprehensive campaign for the next 12 to 18 months that would really be focused on supporting the independent food and beverage industry to survive the crisis, to have the opportunity to rebuild something better than what we left, and to get back to a place of thriving for the long term. And so we launched the Open for Good campaign May, June of 2020, really as a framework to organize all of the foundation's efforts, activities, and programs as we move forward. So there's a number of things that have been happening underneath that since then. In the spring of last year, we launched a food and beverage industry relief fund. One of the things that we heard from our community was that the biggest need that the community had was for cash to try to support them with restaurants being closed or establishments being closed or limited capacity or takeout, delivery only. Cash was the most needed thing. And so we created a relief fund. We raised $4.8 million over the course of about 6 weeks. And we dispersed all of that, 100% of it, back out to the industry as $16,000 grants that went to 312 independent food and beverage establishments across the country. Quick fundraise, quick cash back out the door to try to help people survive. And the funds could have been used for, rent, payroll, insurance, paying back purveyors. In fact, the biggest piece of feedback that we got from those who received those grants, to your point, Emily, was that the majority of them used those funds to pay back their local purveyors that they had not been able to pay for product up until that point. So there was a real local community effect and ripple effect of those funds. We've done a number of other things since that time as part of the campaign. We continue to offer a number of webinars and resources to the industry. We centralized all of that into a website that is openforgood.com, which is a free, open, central resource for those in the industry to access, best practices, all of the back webinars that we've done, There's a forum on that website where you can ask a question, you can raise a topic and try to gain